Hi, I recently did a TEDx talk. It was April 20th of 2024, and it took a few months before it was uploaded, but now it's live as of September of 2024. And what an extraordinary experience that was. So I want to just give you kind of a little bit of behind the scenes of getting this TED talk done. And what I want to say is I had a notion of doing this because I believed that the story of a loved one dealing with somebody that they care about that's dealing with substance use disorder was a story worth telling. What's our side of the story? And what I found was that there were a lot of people who are dealing with addiction in recovery, but I didn't find anybody who was coming out from the shadows and willing to tell the story of being a loved one. I honestly, I think shame keeps us in the shadows. It keeps us silent and it keeps us isolated. So I decided I would tell my story on a TED stage. And that idea was birthed in 2019. It took 5 years to make that happen for a multitude of reasons. COVID showed up and I wanted to be on a stage instead of on a Zoom TEDx. And then the story just kept unfolding. So imagine trying to take 7 years, really, truly, of condensed, compacted chaos, the roller coaster ride of dealing with my son's addiction, and condense it down to what they asked for was 12 minutes. It ended up being 14 and a half when it was all said and done. And I needed to memorize the script. I had never memorized the script before. This was a completely new skill for me to develop. So you had several things going on here. How do I get 7 years of a story and capture the most important things to talk about for an audience that really needs to know about the chaos and the statistics and the trauma and the suffering that we go through? I'm a mom of a son dealing with addiction. He's now in recovery, thank goodness. But at the time, for years, it was the roller coaster ride. And so, okay, I needed to learn how to write a script. Never done that before. And I needed to know how to memorize a script. Never done that before. And then get on a TED stage. Oh my Lord. That was an amazing experience in and of itself, terrifying and also thrilling at the same time. So first, the persistence to get it done and to not let the roadblocks that showed up over the 5 years get in the way of delivering the message that ended up being delivered. And I do believe I did that message proud. So persistence, dogged, fearless persistence to get the message out. It took one person, a virtual assistant, 175 plus applications to TEDx locations around the United States before we finally got 3 invitations. And I ended up taking the invitation and getting the final invitation from Grand Canyon University, which honestly, I'm so blessed that that was the place that I ended up doing my TED Talk. My speaker advocate was Grace Swale, and she was extraordinary. I have no idea how I would have done this without her. She helped in taking what we had written. I had a TED coach, and there were multiple rewrites to get it fine-tuned and down to what we believed would matter most in delivering this message of hope and inspiration and possibility while loving somebody that is suffering at such a degree. And so Grace was hugely helpful in the rewrites because I had 3 interviews with her. And during the course of those interviews, before I was chosen, we had some great conversations that I took notes with, she took notes with, and those notes informed and influenced the script that finally came out through my delivering the TED Talk. So that was one thing. Then the other thing was actually memorizing the script. I, for the most part, have delivered talks impromptu improv and with a notion about what I was going to talk about and just went. And that does not fly with TED. So I needed to memorize it. And I needed to learn how do you actually memorize a 12, 13, 14-minute script. How do I get that in my brain? And so it took a couple of months of memorization, going over it and over it and over it with my coaches, with Grace, with myself, talking into my Zoom camera, talking while I'm walking around the house, recording myself, listening to myself, making sure I got the right versions. And the weirdest thing was 2 weeks roughly before the TED event, I started draining my script. So I didn't anticipate that. I was draining my script. I was going over my script while I was sleeping. And that was a bit bizarre. And it actually took another couple months on a couple of weeks on the other side of having done the TEDx event before my sleep was not interrupted by me doing my TEDx talk, which is just bizarre. And the other thing I would say is, besides the memorization and doing my talk in my sleep, was actually the first time I hit the dot on the stage in a rehearsal. I really wasn't prepared for the fact that it was so dark. All I saw was black because the lights are so bright in your face. And so I wasn't able to eyeball people. I was just talking into the blackness of it all. And that's a bit jarring. And fortunately that we did a couple dress rehearsals before the actual live event. And as it turned out, because I had friends there for that event, I'm really actually grateful that I couldn't see them because my understanding is from the moment I hit the stage and started my talk, they started to cry. And so I was very grateful that I was not able to see them because I don't know, honestly, if I would have been able to keep it together. So there's just a few things behind the scenes of getting a TED Talk done. It takes persistence. It takes skilling up in new areas. It takes writing a script. It takes memorizing a script. It takes delivering from the TEDx dot into blackness. And then finally just kind of overcoming that final right before I hit the side of the stage terror. When you're doing things that matter, the way that I think about it is it's the terror and it's thrilling at the same time. And I was terrified and I was excited to deliver the message at the same time. So just a few things behind the scenes of the TED Talk. I hope you will go visit my TED Talk, leave some comments, let us know what you thought. Did it inspire you? Did it help you have a window into the journey of a mom with her son? And I hope you pass it on to those who are journeying because 1 out of every 2 of us has somebody that we love that's dealing with addiction or alcoholism. So thanks for listening and enjoy the TED Talk.